The final round, divers, I once again want to remind you that we will be handing out awards following this contest, so please do not disappear into the restroom. And coaches, we need to figure out diver and coaches of the year as well right after we are done. So if you could meet over here, that would be wonderful. Nikki Gergilio, Alan Hancock, 104C, forward, double somersault tuck. Scores. 2 1/2, 4, 3, 2 1/2, 3 1/2, 4 1/2, 3 1/2. Fourth score, 3 1/2. Okay, thank you. All right, this should be Lizzie Walls now, Santa Rosa. 301B, reverse dive pike. Scores. 4, 4, 3 1/2, 4 1/2, 4, 4, 4 1/2. Gabby Lemoyne, Las Positas, 302C, reverse somersault tuck. Scores. 4 1/2, 6, 5, 5, 5 1/2, 5 1/2, 6 1/2. Ilana Candiotti, Santa Rosa, 5132D, forward 1 1/2, 1 twist. Scores. 3 1/2, 4 1/2, 4 1/2, 4 1/2, 4 1/2, 4, 4 1/2. Gina Jacobson, Santa Barbara, 105C, inward 2 1/2 tuck. Scores. 4 1/2, 4 1/2, 4, 4, 4, 4, 3 1/2. Millennia Milburn, Sierra, 103B, forward 1 1/2 pike. Scores. 6 1/2, 6 1/2, 6 1/2, 4, 6, 7, 7. Caitlin Smith, Orange Coast, 302C, reverse somersault tuck. Scores. 2, 3, 4, 3, 2 1/2, 3, 2 1/2. Stephanie Rodriguez, LA Pierce, 103C, forward 1 1/2 tuck. Scores. 5 and 1/2, 5, 5 and 1/2, 5 and 1/2, 5, 5, 5. Jean Liu, El Camino, 52-31D, back 1.5 with a half twist. Scores. 3 and 1/2, 2 and 1/2, 3 and 1/2, 3 and 1/2, 4, 4, 3 and 1/2. Ashley Detman, Santa Barbara, 403C, inward 1.5 tuck. Scores. 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, 5 and 1/2. Close. Nicolette Spriggs, Saddleback, 52-31D, back 1.5, half twist. Scores. 3, 4 and 1/2, 4 and 1/2, 4 and 1/2, 3 and 1/2, 4 and 1/2, 4 and 1/2. Nicole Cox, Sierra, 303C, reverse 1.5 tuck. Scores. 5, 5 and 1/2, 5, 5 and 1/2, 5, 5, 5 and 1/2. Alexia Martinez, Sierra, 52-11A, back dive with a half twist straight. Scores. 2, 0, 2, 3, 1 and 1/2, 2, 3. Liz Sanchez, San Diego Mesa, 404C, inward, double somersault tuck. Scores. 5, 3 and 1/2, 5, 5, 5, 4, 5. Valentina Bandolinardo, Las Positas, 52-31D, back 1.5, half twist. Scores. 7, 5 and 1/2, 6, 6 and 1/2, 6, 5 and 1/2, 6 and 1/2. Alejandra Gomez, Cyprus, 105B, forward 2.5 pike. Scores. 7, 6 1/2, 7, 7 1/2, 6 1/2, 6, 7. Johnny Staley lost